Well, good morning, everybody. I have been doing some thinking since the last video, and I wanted to talk today about specifically what happens if you have found yourself in a place where something has taken place that has rocked the world, like the rapture of the church. I'm not here to debate when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. My assumption today with this video is that it has happened and you are here and you are trying to figure out what happened. And this video is going to have a lot to do with what if I'm late to the party? Because I can see things going on, even in my own videos, that are kind of interesting to me and have piqued my curiosity. So today I'm going to talk about curiosity and how it plays a part in what we do and what we listen to and what we believe. And I specifically want to talk today about how you keep yourself from being deceived. Now, that can mean now or it can mean later, but how do you keep yourself from being deceived? And I want to back it up a little bit to talk about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And if you are a Christian believer, you understand the story of Genesis and Genesis 3 and how Eve was coerced and deceived to do something that she knew probably was not right to do. And that has been the story of humankind ever since. I'm hoping I'm making sense with this, but I can't come to you on the assumption that you are seeing this video as a believer in Christ who understands the workings of the Bible. If you truly had that relationship with the Lord and were comfortable in your relationship and pursuing that relationship, my assumption is you don't need this video. So, who I'm talking to today are the people that find themselves totally clueless in what's going on. I remember before I came to the Lord, I didn't know anything. And I shared before in one of my earlier videos, when I first came to accept Jesus, I didn't even know what I'd done. I just kind of called out to him and it happened. And then I started reading the Bible and I didn't know where I was in the Bible. I didn't know what the Gospels were. I didn't understand the difference between Old Testament, Old Covenant, Original Covenant, and New Covenant. I didn't understand any of that. And I have spent the last 45 years studying the Bible. I went to school for Bible. I was a pastor in a church. I've been a women's speaker, etc., etc. But my assumption is not everybody's in that place. We all come to the place at the beginning where we're like, I don't understand what's going on. And maybe you find yourself today, excuse me, where this rapture has taken place. You are a new believer. You've seen this video for one reason or another that says this could help you. So, what I want to do is give you some helps to get started. And that has to include a trip around the internet and a trip through the Bible at the same time. Because I know when I am frantic or when I am nervous or when I am afraid, my brain seems to go to different places than when I'm at peace. If my grandson was ill and he was being rushed to the doctors, that was not a time for me to open up the Bible and learn about anything that's going on. I'm in crisis mode. So my assumption when you're seeing this, or if you're seeing this and the rapture has taken place, that you might be in crisis mode. You're like, what the heck happened? And how do I even deal? So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. And I wanted to start by talking about the internet, because the internet is probably, unless they have shut it down, probably a place where you're going to begin. In one of my recent videos, I said, get yourself a paper Bible. And I mean that. I mean paper Bible with pages that you can look through and you can read and you can understand. But at some point, you're going to turn to the internet. And what I want to do is give you some hints about the internet and about this being deceived, and hopefully help you to stay on track as you search out the scriptures so that you can make sure that you don't get caught in traps. The word curiosity, which is something that we all have, we're all inbred with that human curiosity, the wanting to know. It's just like I shared once before when I was a teacher and the kids wanted to know everything and they would ask questions all day long. That curiosity is inbred in us. It's a desire to know what's going on. And it can be good, it can be beneficial. It can lead us to places where we begin to understand and we begin to develop in our intellectual abilities. It arouses the interest within us. And the problem with curiosity is, like they say, it killed the cat, but the problem with the curiosity is that it can lead us to places that we really don't want to go, shouldn't go, and it can lead us to deception. Curiosity can lead us either to a very good understanding, or it can lead us to places where we would be more susceptible to spiritual decay, to sin, and to being distracted from God. And I think the one that I want to hit on the most right now is that distraction from God, because it happens to all of us. It happens to me. This internet is a powerful tool, no matter whose hands it's in. Most of you, if you've had children, know the dangers of giving your children full access to the internet. I remember when my granddaughters were both early teens and they wanted to know why they couldn't have internet on their phones. And I said, because it could lead you to bad places. And they said, like what? And I said, well, you don't need to know that. Well, why not? Why can't I know? There's that curiosity in us, and it almost makes it like it's some forbidden thing that we have to go after to find out what it is that I'm missing. And that's what curiosity is. It's that desire to know things that we might not have known before. We don't want to be left out. We don't want to be the only ones that don't know about anything. So if we develop that mindset as we go into the internet, that we want to know everything, we're going to find ourselves in places that we shouldn't be. And we can be deceived. And I'm going to give you some examples today on that kind of thing. And some of them are personal, and some of them I've just heard. The first one came about, and this is what came about to make this video, was I was skipping around on the internet. And the first thing you do is it pulls up a page, usually MSN or Microsoft or something, and it gives you all these little like news stories all over the place, right? And with little pictures, and it tells you, oh, Sarah Palin's daughter doesn't look like she did 10 years ago. And oh, this is that, and this is that. And you find yourself, well, that's interesting. Well, I would like to know that one. Well, I wonder what's going on there. And you start clicking. And that's what I was talking about those Benny trails. It just takes you places and it distracts you from God. And I know I have this all the time. And I can think of one instance years ago. I think it was 2016. And Hillary Clinton was going to run for president. And I remember that they had this big story day after day after day about how Hillary Clinton was dying. And every day you saw it. And I remember one video especially that I was watching with minute interest, because it showed her trying to get into her black limo at the curb and she just collapsed. And they had to push her into the video. And I was like, oh my gosh, this must be true. She must be really dying here because she can't even get herself into the car. And it's now 10 years later and she looks vibrant and she looks alive. And I'm thinking, how much trouble and how much time did I spend watching those stupid videos trying to figure out if she was alive or dead? What good did that serve me in my quest for getting closer to the Lord? Absolutely none. 2 nights ago, I was shutting it down. I was going to bed. It was about 11 o'clock. I was already up later than I should have been. And one of my end time watchers posted on Twitter or someplace, I don't know, that Netanyahu may be dead. Then there was a dash, unsubstantiated. But I was like, oh my gosh, do you know what that would mean for everybody if he was dead? And so I spent the next 20 minutes looking on Google and trying to research articles and could I substantiate what I saw and what would this mean and how would I know and what is the truth? And I finally found somebody that said, we think it's a rumor. And then I got up the next day, and sure enough, there's a video of him in a coffee shop with a cup of coffee. And he's saying, I drink coffee with my 5 fingers on my one hand, because they had said that there were videos of him that were coming out with 6 fingers, which meant he was the Nephilim. But they had to take it one step farther and say, but the coffee didn't move in the cup. He took a drink, but when he put it back down, it was still at the brim, and he moved his hand around and the coffee didn't slosh over the rim of the cup. So therefore, that video could be AI. And then he stuck his hand in his pocket, and look, if you look very closely, you can see his pocket moving. So we don't really know. Is Netanyahu alive? Is this an AI video? Do you see what has happened to me? I have gone from this little tidbit that was dropped into my brain. I've gone down a bunny hole, and now for 2 days I've been sitting here analyzing videos as to whether or not Netanyahu's coffee cup moved. I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone when I see this stuff, because we see it all the time. Every time we open the internet, there's something called clickbait that is trying to get us to watch whatever it is that's on there. And don't tell me for a minute that there are not people on there doing their very best to make these titles as titillating and as exciting and as good as they can to get us to grab hold and to go down that bunny trail. The internet has a lot of good to it, and you can learn a lot in your biblical studies, but it can also be a huge distraction from the Lord. And I know myself, I'm going to admit it, I'm going to put it out there. I probably spend more time on the internet than I do in the Bible. And am I proud of that? Absolutely not. No, I'm not. I fit my Bible times in, but I spend a lot of time, too much time. I'm watching newsreels. I'm watching end times events. I'm doing all these things, and every once in a while I get pulled into these stories that I'm looking at that have nothing to do with anything. And I have found myself an hour later. I spent time the other day watching people that had purchased flats, apartments in New York City 40 years ago and made them into art studios. Why? Why did I do that? I looked at one, and all of a sudden my internet is just peppered with them. All these places. And oh, this couple met 50 years ago, and look at their studio, look at their studio. And I had to stop. I had to just say, no more. I don't need to know this, because we only have so much time. And the times are getting more precious for us to spend our time with the Lord and spend our time productively. These things on the internet are not necessarily bad, but they can be time suckers, and they can lead us to places we shouldn't go. Like curiosity, the desire to learn. That's what happened to Eve in the garden. It led her to a place of temptation and sin because of that curiosity. But the Bible also tells us, on the other hand, in Acts 17:11, to be Bereans, to search the word, search the scriptures daily. It encourages us to learn more. But when you're studying the Bible, especially if you are a young believer in the Lord or don't know anything, you need to be very careful. It's what I said in the last video. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear, because there's an enemy of our souls, and this deception is ramping up daily. I can't figure out from one thing to the next, is this article true or not? And I am trying to develop a discipline that says, is this something that could potentially tear me away from what I'm supposed to be doing, or is it something that will guide me closer? I remember when I first went through the book of Genesis, and I got to Genesis 6, and it talked about the Nephilim. I had no idea what the Nephilim were. And I spent time learning about the Nephilim. They were giants that were on the earth. Their seed was what caused all the issues with God killing different sections of people in the Old Testament. If you did not know that, you would just think God was just a murderer going out and killing everybody, when really he was trying to destroy that bloodline, and nobody would listen to him and take all the spoils and get rid of them. But it's appropriate for someone who has reached that point. But if you are just learning about the Lord, learning about the Nephilim is not supposed to be at the top of your agenda any more than you can look at aliens and think that they're not really aliens from a different planet, but they are beings, evil beings that have been come here to deceive, to destroy. You can do a study on that, but you have to ask yourself, with every study that you do, with every single thing you look at, does this go on that plumb line of enhancing my relationship and helping me to know more about the character of God? Or is it clickbait? Is it fluff? Is it extra? If you are just learning, you need to try and stay away from those things. So you need to go back to that list that I told you to create, that tells you what are your most important things. Who is the character of God? How can I learn to obey him? How can I keep myself clean and from sin? What does he require of me? And then you have to make sure that your time is spent there. If you are looking for something to study in the Word, you find it in the Word, and then you Google that, like Bible Hub, or, a Bible meaning of such a word or whatever. And as soon as that screen pops up that gives you all those fluffy things, you need to get past that and continue on that journey to where you're supposed to be. Get rid of all that other clutter and fluff, because it will derail you if you stop to look at things. I know, because it does it to me. These clickbait things, they not only are titillating to our eyes, but they also set off emotions. I know for me, there are certain things that I cannot look at, excuse me, or spend too much time on, because I emotionally can't handle it. I'm a big dog person and horse person, and I can't handle suffering of horses and dogs. I remember years ago watching the movie War Horse, and I'm still affected by it. I hated that movie all the way through. I agonized over it, and it still brings tears to my eyes. It was just too much for me to handle, but I didn't know that going into it. You have to develop in your minds the understanding of what is it that can you see and can you not see. And I know even now, as I follow some of the groups that are rescue groups, I follow a horse guy that buys horses. And one of his videos lately was that, this tragedy happened as he was bringing a new horse in. I could not watch the video until I went down to the comments to see what had happened to the horse, to see whether I could even handle it or not. That's me protecting my mind from things that could harm me. And that's what you need to do as you begin this journey to looking to the Lord and trying to figure out how not to be deceived in these days that are ahead of you. What you need to do is you need to understand, where is your fence? I have an autistic granddaughter, and she has a much smaller fence than my grandson does. We keep her in the confines of that fence because we know what mentally she can handle and what she cannot. And it's the same way with us. When we go onto the internet, you have to know, what are your triggers? What is going to send you down a bunny hole? What is going to trigger something from your past or from a hurt or something like that that's just going to throw you off kilter, and before long you're closing your Bible and you're getting up and you're walking away. So those are things you need to be concentrating on. Number one, what are your triggers? Stay away from those things. If you are prone to look at things you shouldn't be on the internet, don't go. Don't count on yourself to just be a good person and be able to stay away from these things. Set up the fence. Pray. I've been taught over and over, before you get onto the internet, pray. Lord, keep me in your fence. Keep me in that place of safety. Do not let me go down any paths I shouldn't be. Do not allow the enemy to put a foothold in my mind. Pray. Before you flip open that computer, before you flip onto that thing on your phone, pray. Keep me focused. So know your triggers. Pray. And then know what your goal is. What is your goal? Is your goal to waste an hour and a half looking at apartments in New York City and how people go ahead and set up studios? No. Your goal is whatever you're learning about that day. And for me right now, it's been learning about deception and how prevalent it is right now on the internet. I can't open anything on the internet without seeing something. It is a partial lie, which means it's a whole lie. Do not believe what you see. Do not believe what you hear until you have checked it against the word of God. Another person this morning had a video about Tucker Carlson and how he has been deceived and how he is deceiving many. And they took apart the video line by line. And what he did was he took truths and he twisted them just enough to substantiate the point he was trying to make. Now, these people are people that we've seen and heard for years on the internet, and all of a sudden they may be giving information that is not true. We have a government right now that is giving us information that is probably not true. We have countries right now that are giving us information that is probably not true. And we are buying it hook, line, and sinker. And rather than trying to find more articles that substantiate, is this true or not, like I did with Netanyahu the other night, close it up, go to sleep, get up the next morning, and open the word. If you are a new believer, your dependency on God has got to be 100% because your life depends on it. You will not get through this alive. Bottom line. There will come a time where you will be standing before the Lord very soon. So you need to decide, what is it that I'm going to spend my time on? Your heart needs to be saying, Father, I need what you've got. I need you to give me your wisdom, give me your discernment, teach me what I need to know, help me to get rid of the rest, help me to stay on your path, help me to know what I need to do to survive. Help me to know what I need to do, that when I stand before you, I can stand before you with a clean heart. That's what you're doing right now. Don't spend as much time on the things of the world. You don't have time anymore. We don't have time anymore. They are calling for the rapture of the church any day, any moment. And I'm not a date setter, but I want to make sure that my house is in order, that no matter what takes place, he will find me with a heart that is seeking after him, that is doing the best I can to serve him, to be obedient to him, to love him, to be faithful to him. That's all I can do. You will have plenty of time later on to figure out what was truth and what was lies and all this. And I can tell you what, you're not going to care. It's not going to matter. So what you need to do now to overcome the deception is to stay grounded in the word. I say it over and over. I don't care where you start. I don't. If you have questions about the word, go to the internet, but type it in specifically. What is the definition of salvation, biblical salvation? And then you pull that up and you look at that and you study it and you take notes on it. What does it mean that I'm saved? What does that mean? And then you search out the scriptures. You go back to John 3. You look at other scriptures that it gives you, and you start looking at it, and you let it percolate in you. You can't swallow this whole thing all at once. Like I said, I've got 45 years of walking with the Lord, and I still don't know a lot. I know some things, but there's a lot more that I don't know. And I have to be careful right now in what I'm spending my time on. because my mind wants to go to those things that are going to be funny to look at or are going to give me a little rush for a minute, like Netanyahu's coffee cup not moving. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So what you do is you go to the Word and you look at the Word and you stay in the Word and you ask for guidance and you ask for protection and you ask for offense and you protect yourself from the things that you know you will be harmed by. And you only associate with those who are on the same page as you. Do not expect to go out in the world and get dirty and come home and be clean. It doesn't work that way. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. Get back to your core beliefs. What are your core beliefs? Who is God? Who is Jesus Christ? Who is he in your life? Who is the Holy Spirit? What is his job in your life? What is the role of the Bible? What does God tell us about studying the Bible? What is salvation? What is grace? And study those things and keep studying them. Please, please do not be deceived. Stay out of the bunny holes. I'm just overwhelmed in my spirit with letting you know how to stay steadfast, because the day is coming when there will not be many people who are willing to give that message. Have a good day.